So during the festival, the temple president, who I think still is, Srila Prabhupada, had invited one Indian professor to come and speak with Prabhupada. So only a few devotees knew about it, and this was going on in Prabhupada's quarters, which were just across the street from the temple at that time. And one of the devotees that knew told me about it. Hey, come on up, you know? So I said, okay, great. So I went upstairs and sat down in front of Prabhupada's desk, maybe 6 or 7 feet away from Prabhupada. And let's see, Vitthalesvara was there, Rupanuga, Bhakti-Swarup Damodar Goswami, several other devotees. Anyway, so I think it was either Rupanuga or Rupinder, I can't remember, introduced the professor. This is Professor so-and-so. I think his name is changed in the Lamrita so he doesn't sue us for slander. And and he's a professor of Hinduism and philosophy. So Prabhupada looks at the man straight on, he says, so, what is this Hinduism? And the first thing comes out of the guy's mouth is, I don't know, you tell me, you know? Thinking that somehow he would be at an advantage if Prabhupada, you know, spoke first, you know. And he brought several students with him. It was obvious the whole idea is he was going to, you know, try to defeat Prabhupada and impress his students. So Prabhupada looks at Bhakti-Swarup Damodar Goswami and he says, he points to the professor, he says, so, he has called you a cheater. No, excuse me, no. He said, so he is teaching, but he does not know. What is that called? So Bhakti-Swarup Damodar Goswami says, he's a cheater, Prabhupada. Right? So then Prabhupada points to Bhakti-Swarup Damodar Goswami looking at the professor and says, so he has called you a cheater. What have you got to say for yourself? And the man kept trying to wiggle around and go around to the side and talk about something else, but Prabhupada wouldn't let him go. Prabhupada would always do that. He wouldn't let him go. He'd stay on one point. And somehow or another it went back and forth, and he had the man actually admit that he was a cheater. But the man was so crazy, he said, but I am an honest cheater. And let's see, trying to remember the details. So Prabhupada was talking about surrender at one point in the conversation. So the man, so he says, so you understand? No, I don't want this meaning. Prabhupada was talking to Abhidi Prabhupada, surrender to a spiritual master. And he's talking about surrender. And so the man says, no, I don't want this meaning. I want the, Prabhupada says, you don't know what the word surrender means? He points to one devotee. He says, look in the dictionary for Mr. Professor. He doesn't know what surrender means. He's a professor. He says, no, I want the Sanskrit etymological meaning. And then Prabhupada points to the door and says, get out. You don't want a spiritual master, you want a Sanskrit teacher. Get out. Somehow or another, I don't know how, the conversation went back and forth a little bit more. And then finally, a big smile comes over Prabhupada's face, and he puts his head on his elbow like this, and he turns sideways and looks at all the devotees and smiles. And he points to the professor and he says, he's a madman. And everybody in the room cracked up. Even the students that came with the professor cracked up in laughter. I'm forgetting all the details in order. Anyway, at one point in the conversation, the man was getting a little bit offensive, kind of like snaky-like. So Brahmananda, who was the Swami at the time, was like in another room, like 10 feet down the hall, and he could hear everything that was going on. So all of a sudden you hear, boom, 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 boom. The door flies open, and there's big, huge 300 and some pound, I don't know how, Brahmananda with just a lungi on, no shirt, just a lungi. And, excuse me, sir, you'll have to come along with me, sir, now. And the guy started shaking, shivering, literally, trembling. I have said something offensively? Before you do, sir, come along. And anyway, Rabbeinu Swarup afterwards was apologizing to Prabhupada. I had no idea he would act in such a horrible way. Please forgive me, Prabhupada. Prabhupada just laughed. He said, that's okay. At least he was chastised.
Je anilo premadana koruna prachu